and I called my mom and told her I had a job teaching in a Catholic school. My mom said, "Oh, good." I say, "Why are you saying good?" My mother walked away from teaching and went to work as a city recreation director. I said, "You left teaching." She said, "But that's where you need to be." And we had a family friend who was a school, no, she was a psychiatrist. And she was asking me, "So Gwen, what are you studying in grad school?" I said, "Oh, I'm going to be a statistician." And she looked at me and said, "Oh, you too much of a people person to be a statistician." And you know me, I'm probably by 18, 19, I'm thinking, "Oh, Chloe didn't know what she's talking about." But it worked out for me. So I'm pleased with that.
So I went to the wrong person. I should have been over here. I just finished my statistics class on Wednesday.
Okay.
I didn't know that I was supposed to come over here and get my
Kathy's good at math also.
Yeah, she looked at some of it, but I think most of it is a little. I won't say it's confusing, but it's kind of out there because it's all based on sociology. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yep, that statistics course kicked my butt.
Well, it kicked Orville's butt when he was working on his master's of what's it, his doctorate. One of them. So he called me. He said, "I need help."
I'm praying that's my last math class.
Okay.
Even if I were to go after my master's, I'm pretty sure I don't have to take another one. So.
No, not unless you. Yeah, not unless you just have to do the research for whatever your thesis is on.
So I mean that pretty much covers everything. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, or?
Not really, not unless there's something you need more of.
I guess
Or
I'll
you
just-
have a question.
Just one more. Having been involved in the civil rights movement, how do you see the Black Lives Matter movement now, and what do you think they're doing good, and what do you think they could be doing better?
I have a few theories because that's one of our issues with one of the things that in two of the organizations I'm in, they're supporting Black Lives Matter. But we're supporting it from a point of view of legislation. But the same thing that happened in the 60s are happening now. There are people paid to be agitators. And so then you look at it and say, "Oh," as 45 says, they're thugs. But there are people paid to be agitators just like they did in the 60s as
They
well.
arrested 3 men in Las Vegas who were planning on joining the march, going to be in their mask and going to start shooting, and then try to blame it on the movement.
Yeah. So I look at everything with a cynical eye and ear. And since I lived in the 60s and I know, we talk about free speech and education, but the state of Florida legislation made a law that if you participated, you would lose your academic scholarships. That's absolutely horrendous, So, and our president at the time was the only Black president in the region part. So he didn't get to go play golf with them and make decisions before they had the meeting and stuff like that. So I'm just a little cynical at times, but I applaud the different groups that are doing this together because it will affect all of us.
I found it, first I found it interesting. So I'm a member of my school's Black Student Union. But one thing they do is send us a lot of emails, and it's kind of like on the same thing. They're like, be sure if you're going to march, be sure what you're getting involved in, and make sure that it's legit, because some of them really aren't.
Okay.
Which is why I thought it was so interesting when I finally found out recently that there was training before, because I'm like, it would be nice if something could happen here, because it's just too many people on different pages.
Yeah.
Like I only went to one march in Vallejo, and I mean it was good, but it was just kind of frenetic. Like there was no real plan, no real speaker, so it was just a bunch of people running up front and yelling stuff, and it kind of seemed like it was too disorganized to
Mm-hmm.
do it. So I'm at a point now where I'm just
Yeah,
really
but-
doubting whether any of this is going to help because it was big and it's dying down, and it's like people are quick to get over it. And
Yeah,
about
and
COVID
the thing is, what happened with us on Saturday, there were all of these meetings on Zoom ahead of time. So anyone who was gonna participate, you could get in on Zoom. Also, it went so smooth, you know, but the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in how many people vote. The proof is how many people sign up for the census, because whatever those numbers are, they're gonna be with us for 10 years. And I don't think people get that part of it. It was nice of us to talk about it with people and all, but that's an education in itself. It talks about how many representatives you're gonna have from your state, how much money's gonna come into your state for everything. In education, which you don't get that much of in federal dollars, you know, but it makes a difference, and I hope people understand that.
I guess this is probably my last, unless I can think of anything else. But so you said you were working on voters' rights and stuff, you know, back in the '60s. So how does it feel still kind of having to deal with that today? Not as much. I mean, might not be as extreme and out there, but there's still places where they're making it real hard for Black people to vote, where they're making it real hard for people to vote right now.
They don't make it hard for people to vote. I do have to say that. Black people make it hard for themselves to vote. We were in Solano Mall about 4 years ago, and we just asked people, are you registered to vote? We can't take a stand on, and they'd ask us, which party? No, you have to make that decision. You know, if you're registering people to vote, you can't do anything in any way. 4 African American guys was coming down the escalator, and we said, are you registered to vote? And they looked at us and said, we don't believe in voting. It doesn't change anything. And I had to hold Sarah Chapman back, who's on the board at Solano, because it was AKs and the Deltas together. I had to hold her back. She said, suckers, you know, no, you can't do that. It's just that not believing in the system. And no matter how imperfect it is, you gotta be there to help it get better. You have to take personal responsibility. I think that's the thing that gets me the most, that people don't take personal responsibility for things.
Well, I think that's a good place to end, unless you have anything.
No, darling. And you have to qualify that and say, this is my grandmother.
Oh, I already told them because